Galactic Empire's 800,000 human children massacre leads to our warning. Flee now. The sky above Elisara Prime was calm. The twin suns bathed the sprawling human city in warm light. Children laughed as they ran through the streets, chasing small, glowing drones that floated in playful loops. Adults worked in the fields or the labs, building machines, teaching, or preparing for the next colony expansion. The planet had always been quiet, peaceful, far from the politics of the Galactic Empire. But peace, as humans often discovered, was fragile. Without warning, the sky tore open with fire. Massive Imperial ships, sleek and black, dropped from orbit like predators descending from the clouds. Their weapons glowed, and beams of energy rained down, shattering buildings and scattering civilians. The screams of children echoed across the streets. Parents grabbed their children, running through chaos as explosions rocked the ground. The human colony was unprepared, but humans had something the Empire had never accounted for: heart, courage, and stubbornness. Commander Elias Ward, a veteran of countless minor skirmishes on frontier worlds, stood atop the tallest building in the colony. His eyes scanned the horizon. The Empire had no mercy. Their soldiers moved like shadows, armed with lethal weapons and ruthless orders. Elias knew that in moments, hundreds of thousands of innocent lives could be lost. He gritted his teeth. "We can't let them take the children," he muttered. His voice was calm, but his mind raced. "We fight even if we die. That is what humans do." Elias signaled his team. A dozen volunteers, scientists, engineers, farmers, grabbed whatever weapons they had. Most were basic blasters, tools for self-defense, or even modified farming equipment. But humans could improvise in ways no alien could predict. They set up barricades in narrow streets, creating choke points. Meanwhile, across the city, a mother named Lyra held her 3-year-old son, Jaren, close. Her hands trembled, but her eyes burned with determination. She saw soldiers approaching and realized she couldn't outrun them in the open. She led Jaren through the network of tunnels under the city, tunnels humans had built for emergencies, knowing every second counted. Above them, the sky burned with the Imperial fleet. One of their massive ships, a dread harbinger, fired a beam that tore through a school. The sound of metal twisting and screams filled the air. Children scattered, some too small or too frightened to run. The Empire's strategy was clear: destroy hope, destroy future generations. But humans, even in fear, did not collapse. On the northern edge of the city, a group of teenagers, some only 15 or 16, grabbed what weapons they could find. They set up small traps, electrified wires, and incendiary devices. When an Imperial patrol came too close, the teens triggered the devices. Explosions rocked the patrol, forcing the soldiers to retreat. It was a small victory, but it bought time for dozens of children to escape. From orbit, alien observers watched in disbelief. These humans were supposed to be weak, easy prey. They had no massive armies, no fleets comparable to the Empire. Yet here they were, fighting back with ingenuity and fearless determination. One alien commander whispered to another, "They are different." The city's central command, a dome-shaped structure still standing after the initial attacks, became the rallying point. Elias led his team inside. "We cannot hold them forever," he said, "but we can save enough children to survive. That is our mission." Inside, communications were limited. The Empire had jammed most transmissions. Only one line worked, a small subspace transmitter capable of sending a single, short message. Elias typed quickly, "Survivors, protect the children, flee to outer sectors. Humanity will endure." Outside, the streets burned, but humans fought. Soldiers used speed, agility, and knowledge of their environment. The Empire's troops were trained killers, but they had never faced opponents who knew their cities like veins in their own body. Humans slipped through alleys, climbed rooftops, and launched counterattacks from unexpected angles. Even children helped. Small groups carried supplies, guided younger siblings, or distracted soldiers with loud shouts and thrown objects. The aliens observing couldn't believe it. These were children and farmers, not soldiers, yet their determination was stronger than the Empire's fearsome reputation. In one neighborhood, Lyra reached a collapsed bridge. She could hear the soldiers approaching. There was no other way forward. Her eyes scanned the rubble. Then she saw Jaren pointing. "Mama, here!" A narrow gap under the debris formed a makeshift tunnel. Without hesitation, Lyra crawled through with her son. Behind her, the ground shook as soldiers fired energy beams, but she moved too fast. By nightfall, the city was nearly in ruins. Smoke rose in thick clouds and fires illuminated the sky. Yet some humans had survived, carrying children, wounded adults, and supplies. Elias stood at the city's edge, looking at the horizon. The Imperial fleet loomed above, preparing for a second assault. He turned to his team. "We cannot stay here. They will return. We take what survivors we can and leave now. Our people, our children, must live." The survivors moved silently toward the colony's spaceport, a small cluster of ships barely capable of interstellar flight. Engineers had secretly modified the vessels for emergency escape. They were not warships, but humans had a way of making even the simplest ships into tools of survival. As they boarded, the first Imperial patrol arrived. Elias took a deep breath and looked at the young teens beside him. "It's our turn," he said. And for the first time, the aliens watching realized the truth. Humans did not need huge fleets or armies to strike fear. Their courage, their refusal to abandon the innocent, made them formidable. The humans launched. The ships rose, dodging enemy fire, weaving through the city's ruins and heading for the outer sectors. Behind them, Elisara Prime burned, but not all hope was lost. Hundreds of children were safe. Hundreds more had survived the first night of horror. In orbit, the Empire's officers were furious. "We underestimated them," one growled. "They are too stubborn, too clever, too human." Meanwhile, Elias sent the final transmission from the colony's main ship. A short, urgent warning to other human colonies and to any alien allies who might listen. "The Empire shows no mercy. Flee now. Protect the children. Humanity will survive." The message flashed across subspace, reaching planets the Empire had never considered dangerous. Some dismissed it as panic. Others listened, their curiosity piqued. For the first time in history, aliens began to see humans not as weak, but as unpredictable and brave beyond imagination. The survivors entered uncharted space, their ships small but fast. Children huddled together, crying but safe. Adults worked to maintain the ships, patch damages, and plan the next move. Elias looked at the stars, feeling both grief and determination. "We will survive. We always do, and the galaxy will see why humans cannot be crushed." The night stretched on, and somewhere in the darkness, the first sparks of a human legend began to ignite. The massacre had destroyed a city, but it had not destroyed the human spirit. The Empire believed they had won. They had not seen the heart, cunning, and courage of the human race, and the galaxy unknowingly was about to witness it for the first time. The survivors' fleet moved through the black expanse of space. The ships were small, patched with makeshift repairs, and overloaded with children and supplies. Yet they flew with purpose. Every human aboard knew their mission was bigger than survival. It was a message, a warning to the galaxy, and a promise that humanity would not bow. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the lead ship, the Resolute. He stared at the stars ahead, calculating their path. Behind them, Elisara Prime burned, a reminder of what the Empire had done. Over 800,000 children had been slaughtered. Too many were gone. But those who remained, they must survive. Lyra, the mother who had carried Jaren through the rubble, moved among the children. Her calm voice guided them, telling stories to ease their fear, showing them how to stay low when the ship shook from turbulence. The children listened wide-eyed, and slowly their cries softened. She glanced at Elias. "We will make it," she said. "We have to." Elias nodded. He knew survival was only the first step. The galaxy was vast and humans were scattered. Most alien civilizations either ignored human colonies or looked down upon them as weak. Now, the survivors had a chance to change that perception. "Prepare the transmitter," Elias ordered. "We need to send a warning to every corner of human space and any alien who will listen." Technicians worked quickly. The subspace transmitter was not built for long-range communication. Its signals were weak, but could reach multiple star systems if amplified. The engineers rewrote protocols, combining every available power source, and soon a flickering broadcast began to stretch across the galaxy. Elias watched as the warning unfolded on the main screen. "To all human colonies and allies in the galaxy, the Galactic Empire is ruthless. They have destroyed Elisara Prime. 800,000 children were slaughtered. Flee now, protect your children and your people. Humanity will endure." It was short, simple, and terrifying. Alien reactions, the warning did not go unnoticed. In the depths of space, alien species received the message. Most were skeptical. The Rianari Council, a technologically advanced race, dismissed it. Humans exaggerate, one council member said, frowning. They are weak. They could not survive a single Imperial fleet. It must be propaganda. But some aliens could not ignore it. A small observer fleet from the Kaleri sector analyzed the signals. These aliens had once underestimated humanity and now realized something was different. They are organized, one Kaleri scientist whispered. They speak of 800,000 children, and yet they survived an attack. This is not typical. In the Outer Rim, the Zarvan species had colonies on remote planets. They hesitated when the message arrived. Could it be true? One Zarvan leader asked. The Empire never leaves survivors. Yet humans claim children survived. If even half of this is true, the Empire, of course, did not take the broadcast lightly. Word of the survivors sending a message of warning infuriated Imperial commanders. Fleet Admiral Vorsk snarled at the communication officers. They dare to broadcast defiance? They are not dead, they live and they speak. This is unacceptable. Hunt them down, erase them completely. For humans, this only meant one thing: the Empire would come. But Elias saw a glimmer of opportunity. They think we are weak, he told his officers. They think we fear them. Let them watch. Let them learn. Humanity has a way of turning fear into respect. Survival and adaptation, the survivors moved through uncharted space, avoiding known Imperial patrols. They navigated asteroid belts, plasma storms, and dark nebulas, using every trick a human mind could conceive. Unlike alien species who relied on sheer firepower, humans used creativity, adaptability, and cunning. Lyra helped coordinate the youngest children, showing them how to hide in maintenance bays, crawl through ducts, and avoid detection. Some of the older children, barely teenagers, were taught to operate minor ship functions. Each child learned quickly. Humans had a habit of rising to challenges, even in impossible situations. On one small transport, a group of teenagers, armed with little more than handheld blasters and improvised shields, managed to disable a tracking drone that the Empire had sent to follow them. They worked as a team, communicating silently, predicting the drone's path, and using the ship's magnetic fields to interfere with its sensors. When it drifted uselessly into space, one of the teens grinned. "We're smarter than they thought," she whispered. Elias smiled faintly. Exactly. The warning echoes across the galaxy. The warning was broadcast again, amplified by relay stations from nearby human colonies. Slowly, other human worlds received it. Panic spread, but so did determination. Humans everywhere prepared to flee, protect children, and resist the Empire. Colonies coordinated secretly, sending resources, escape ships, and messages of solidarity. Some alien species listened more closely. A few began to admire humans for their bravery. The message of protecting children, even at the cost of their own lives, was alien to many. To them, survival often came first, and civilians were expendable. Humans were different. Humans valued life, especially the innocent. In a distant observation station, a member of the Zelari Council noted, "These humans, they risk everything for their children. Their courage is remarkable, perhaps too remarkable for a species we dismissed." Empire's retaliation begins. Meanwhile, the Empire's fleets tracked the survivors' small group. They were furious, not just because humans survived, but because they dared to communicate defiance across the galaxy. Imperial destroyers were dispatched to intercept. Their goal was clear: eliminate the human survivors before the message spread further. Elias anticipated this. He had studied the Empire's tactics, learned their predictable patterns, and prepared contingencies. Humans were outnumbered, outgunned, but they had speed, unpredictability, and unity. When the first Imperial scout ship appeared, humans reacted instantly. Using debris fields from destroyed moons, they maneuvered their small fleet, dodging energy beams and using gravity wells to throw off enemy sensors. For hours, they led the scout on a chase, wasting its fuel and resources, all while keeping the children safe in hidden sections of the ships. The scout transmitted warnings to the main fleet, but humans had already escaped the predicted intercept zones. The Empire began to realize something unsettling. These humans thought differently, acted differently, survived differently. Acts of humanity amid the tension and chaos, small acts of humanity shone brightly. A young boy, barely 10, noticed an injured alien stowaway on one of the transports. Despite his fear, he carried the alien to a medbay, tended to its wounds, and whispered comforting words. The alien, who had once thought humans weak and insignificant, now looked at them with astonishment and respect. On another ship, engineers worked tirelessly, repairing hull breaches and rerouting power through jury-rigged circuits. They argued, laughed, and shouted at one another, yet their teamwork ensured survival. Their determination was contagious. Every child, every survivor aboard felt the weight of responsibility, not just for themselves, but for all humanity. In these small ships, humans demonstrated a level of compassion, courage, and resourcefulness no alien had seen before. They were not soldiers, yet they acted like heroes. The first signs of hope as days passed, the warning spread. Some alien civilizations, previously indifferent, began to heed it. Ships from neutral worlds offered temporary refuge. Supplies arrived secretly. Observers who had once dismissed humans started documenting their tactics, their resilience, their unwavering defense of children. Elias watched the stars and thought of the future. The Empire would not give up easily, but humans had already begun to forge their legend. Even in defeat, they inspired hope. Even in chaos, they commanded respect. One evening, in the quiet hum of a small transport, Lyra held Jaren close and whispered, "We will survive. Humans always do." Jaren nodded, his eyes wide but trusting. Elias turned to the bridge, looking at his officers and technicians. "The Empire thinks this is just the beginning of their victory," he said. "They are wrong. This is only the start of humanity showing the galaxy who we really are." And with that, the fleet disappeared into the stars, small but unstoppable, carrying their warning across the galaxy. Flee now or witness the courage of humanity. The blackness of space stretched endlessly before the human fleet. Tiny ships patched with metal, wires, and hope glimmered like stars against the void. Commander Elias Ward stood on the bridge of the Resolute, scanning the sensors. Imperial ships were behind them now, sleek, deadly, and far more numerous. The Empire had realized that humans were not simply fleeing. They were sending a message, resisting, surviving. And the more humans resisted, the more dangerous the Empire believed they were. Elias spoke quietly to his officers, yet his words carried authority. "We cannot outrun them forever. We do not have their fleets, but we can outthink them. We will survive because we are human. We are clever, brave, and stubborn, and we will protect our children no matter the cost." Navigating the impossible. The fleet moved into an asteroid field near a dying star. Enormous rocks tumbled through space like a celestial storm. The Imperial ships pursued them, expecting humans to scatter, panic, or be destroyed. Instead, humans thrived in chaos. Small fighter ships darted between asteroids, using the rocks as shields. Engineers aboard the transports hacked the navigation systems of their own ships to make unpredictable movements. Humans coordinated with precision, communicating silently through coded signals, a language the Empire could not understand. One young pilot, barely 16, took a small scout ship through a narrow asteroid pass. The ship scraped against jagged metal, sparks flying, but she navigated it perfectly, drawing 2 Imperial fighters into the trap. Hidden behind massive asteroids, the human scout fired its only weapon, a plasma pulse that detonated in the debris. The fighters were destroyed. From orbit, alien observers watched in disbelief. "They are improvising," one Kylari officer muttered. "These humans, their instinct, their courage, it is unmatched." The Empire realized that brute force would not suffice. These humans did not behave like any other species they had conquered. They were unpredictable, creative, and fearless, especially when protecting the innocent. Children as the heart of resistance. In the transports, the children huddled together, unaware of the full danger surrounding them. Lyra walked among them, checking each child, soothing their fears. "You are safe," she whispered repeatedly. "We are human, we survive, we will always protect you." Some older children learned to help. They manned minor controls, guided the youngest to safe zones, and delivered emergency supplies. Even in terror, humans found ways to rise to the challenge. One child, no more than 10, noticed a small Imperial drone trying to track the fleet. Quietly, he crept into the maintenance bay and rerouted power to the ship's sensors, creating interference. The drone lost the fleet's signature and drifted harmlessly into space. Elias watched the scene unfold on the bridge and shook his head in amazement. "Humans are never truly powerless," he murmured. "Even the youngest among us can fight in their own way." The Empire tightens its grip. The Imperial fleet was relentless. Ships moved faster, weapons recalibrated to cut through asteroid fields. Admiral Vorsk aboard the Dread Sovereign watched the humans' movements with growing anger. "They escape because they are clever, but we will catch them. Every human will be destroyed," he snarled. Yet with each human victory, the Empire grew more cautious. Their officers whispered among themselves. Why do they fight so differently? Why do they protect children with such determination? Why do they never panic? The Empire had never faced a species that combined strategy, courage, and compassion so perfectly. They had conquered countless worlds, but humans were something else entirely. The ambush as the fleet approached a dense nebula, Elias saw an opportunity. The Empire expected them to fly straight into the open. Humans, however, had learned the art of misdirection. "Prepare the decoys," Elias commanded. Engineers released small ships with heat signatures mimicking transports. The real fleet went silent, drifting behind the decoys. When the Imperial scouts approached, they fired on the decoys, believing them to be the main fleet. Explosions lit up the nebula, and the Empire was momentarily fooled. The human fleet slipped through the chaos, their course hidden by swirling gas and electrical storms. For a moment, hope shone through despair. But Elias knew this would not last. The Empire would adapt. They were chasing not just humans, they were chasing a legend in the making. A test of unity within the fleet, tension ran high, resources were limited. Engineers argued about which routes were safest. Pilots argued about fuel conservation. Parents worried for their children. Yet despite the fear and exhaustion, humans found strength in unity. Lyra organized small groups of survivors to maintain order. Children assisted by monitoring supplies or relaying messages. Even the weakest had a role, and every human contribution mattered. One engineer, wiping sweat from his brow, turned to Elias. "We can't keep this up forever. The Empire will corner us." Elias smiled faintly, not out of arrogance but certainty. "Then we fight smarter. Humans always find a way." The Empire doesn't understand one thing. They cannot break a human spirit that is protecting the innocent. First contact with allies, the fleet emerged from the nebula near a neutral system. Alien ships were stationed there, wary but curious. The human warning had reached them, though they did not yet know how real it was. The aliens observed the fleet cautiously. They expected a weak, terrified group. What they saw instead were humans who were organized, protecting children, repairing ships mid-flight, coordinating movements with precision. Even small children contributed to the survival effort. One alien diplomat, impressed, approached Elias. "Your species, it is unlike any other we have seen. You fight, protect, and survive in ways unexpected." Elias nodded. "We are human. We do not leave children behind. We do not surrender. You may fear the Empire, but we endure, always." The aliens exchanged glances. The reputation of humans was spreading. A legend was growing, one that no fleet of the Empire could erase. A dire warning despite temporary safety, Elias knew the pursuit would continue. The Empire would not relent. Their weapons, their numbers, their resources, everything favored them. Humans had only ingenuity, courage, and unity on their side. He gathered his officers. "The Empire knows we survive. They will strike harder. Our only advantage is speed, stealth, and unpredictability. We cannot fight their entire fleet. We must survive, protect the children, and keep spreading our warning. Humanity is not weak. We are not victims, and the galaxy will see that." Lyra stood beside him, holding Jaren tightly. "Do you think anyone will believe us?" she asked softly. "They will," Elias said. "Some will fear us, some will respect us, but all will know that humans cannot be crushed and will not bow." The first major battle, the Empire's destroyers finally caught up. A massive battle erupted near a dark star cluster. Human ships were smaller, weaker, and fewer in number, but humans had tactics no alien could predict. Transports hid behind asteroids. Fighters struck from impossible angles. Engineers sabotaged enemy weapons remotely, sending Imperial lasers into the void. Every move was deliberate, every action a test of creativity and bravery. One young fighter pilot, barely 14, led an ambush that destroyed a squadron of Imperial interceptors. His ship was small and underpowered, but he used the stars themselves as shields. The Imperial commanders watched in disbelief as children, farmers, and engineers outmaneuvered trained soldiers. A growing legend as the battle ended, human casualties were minimal. The Empire's losses were significant. Aliens who observed the fight whispered among themselves. "They are extraordinary. one said. No other species would dare fight like this, protect like this, survive like this. Elias sent another broadcast, brief and urgent. The Empire pursues us. They underestimate humans. Protect your children. Flee now. Humanity survives and will not be defeated. The message spread farther than the first. More humans heard, more aliens began to respect the human spirit, and the Empire grew more frustrated, more fearful. Elias looked at his fleet. This is only the beginning, he said. The galaxy will know what it means to face humans who refuse to surrender. The black void of space felt heavier than usual. Humans in the fleet had grown stronger with every battle, their courage sharper and their unity tighter. Yet Commander Elias Ward knew the hardest test was still ahead. Intel gathered from spies and alien observers had revealed the Empire's newest weapon, a massive orbital cannon capable of destroying entire human colonies. It sat on a remote outpost, heavily guarded, surrounded by fleets of destroyers. The Empire's goal was simple: wipe out every remaining human settlement before the warning could spread further. Elias gathered his officers on the bridge of the Resolute. The fleet was small but nimble. Their resources were limited, but they had brains, courage, and determination. We strike now, Elias said, his voice steady. This is more than survival. If that cannon fires, countless children and civilians die. We cannot let it happen. We are humans. We do not abandon the innocent. We do not bow. We fight. The officers nodded, some gripping their chairs with tension, others with grim determination. Every human on the fleet understood the stakes. This mission was suicide if done the wrong way, but humans had never let fear dictate action. Approaching the Empire's outpost, the fleet slipped through an asteroid field near the outpost, using its rocks as cover. Sensors scanned constantly, looking for enemy patrols and hidden traps. Lyra moved among the children, ensuring they remained calm, safe, and ready for emergencies. Even the youngest knew to hide in designated safe zones. One engineer whispered to Elias, "They have automated defenses, hundreds of energy turrets and shields. We cannot attack head-on." Elias nodded. "We won't. We attack smartly, divide, confuse, and strike at the heart. This is how humans win." The children, too, played their small part. Some guided minor ship systems, rerouted power, and even acted as spotters for blind corners. To outsiders, it seemed impossible. How could children aid in a space battle? Yet humans, no matter their age, had a way of contributing courageously in crises. The first assault, the fleet split into small groups. Fighters darted in unpredictable patterns, drawing the Empire's turrets away from the transports. The transports themselves, slow but stealthy, slipped past defenses, hidden behind electromagnetic distortions and asteroid shadows. Elias' heart pounded as the first energy beams swept past the fleet. He shouted orders, and humans responded flawlessly. Every maneuver was calculated, every distraction intentional. One young pilot, barely 15, executed a daring move. He flew directly between two massive turrets, drawing their fire while another group of engineers remotely hacked the turret systems. Sparks flew across the shields as the turrets overloaded and shut down. "Humans think differently," one alien observer whispered in amazement. "They do not just attack, they solve problems." Infiltrating the cannon, the orbital cannon loomed like a giant predator. Massive, dark, and lethal, it sat atop the outpost, bristling with weapons and shield generators. A small squad of human fighters approached stealthily, using the shadows of debris fields to hide their presence. Elias led the boarding team personally. He knew that if they failed, countless lives would be lost. The boarding ships attached to the cannon, and humans spilled inside. Their movement was precise, silent, and coordinated. Every corridor was a hazard, every corner a potential trap. Yet humans advanced with a mix of fearlessness and calculation that no Empire soldier could match. Explosions erupted outside as distraction teams engaged the Empire fleets. Inside, humans fought not with brute force alone, but with ingenuity. Engineers hacked control panels mid-battle, sending weapons offline, while fighters disarmed automated defenses using quick, precise strikes. HFY brilliance in action. In one critical moment, a squad of children, trained quickly for emergencies, accessed a minor control panel to reroute power. This overloaded the cannon's main energy core. Sparks and alarms erupted, and for the first time, the Empire's officers realized that humans used brains as weapons as much as their ships. Another group of engineers, including adults and teens, set timed charges to destroy the power conduit completely. When the final explosion detonated, the cannon's massive barrel shattered and the entire outpost went dark. Elias stepped back, breathing heavily, and looked at the squad. "This is what humans do," he said simply. "We protect life, we adapt, and we survive against impossible odds." Saving the captives, the human team had discovered that the Empire had kept children and civilians in the outpost as hostages. Many of them were scared, hungry, or injured. Lyra and other volunteers quickly moved to comfort and guide them. Some children cried at the sight of humans fighting, but were calmed by the reassurance of someone who understood fear, yet chose courage. They loaded the captives onto the fleet, ensuring everyone had life support and supplies. The aliens who had once doubted humans now watched with respect and awe. Humans risked everything for innocence, even those not their own. One alien observer muttered, "No other species would do this. Humans are extraordinary. They fight, yes, but they also care. They value life in ways we cannot imagine." Empire's furious retaliation, the Empire realized the humans had destroyed their secret weapon. Fury spread like wildfire across the command decks. Admiral Vorsk gritted his teeth. "They cannot be allowed to escape. They are too dangerous, too clever. Bring them down, every ship, every soldier, terminate them." But humans had already adapted again. Using debris fields, nebulae, and careful planning, the fleet escaped the outpost system. Fighters harassed the pursuing ships, while transports moved in unpredictable patterns, avoiding traps and ambushes. Elias watched the last of the Empire destroyers slip past them. "We cannot fight them all at once," he said, "but we can survive, we can protect life. That is our strength, that is what makes humans human." The broadcast of hope after the battle, humans sent a new transmission across subspace. This one was not just a warning, it was a declaration. "The Empire will try to destroy us, but humanity survives. We protect our children, we defend the innocent, and we will endure. Flee now, protect your people. Humanity will not bow." The message reached distant systems, human colonies, and curious alien civilizations. Some humans began evacuating, some prepared defenses, and some alien races reconsidered their alliances. The reputation of humanity as fearless, clever, and compassionate spread like wildfire. Elias looked at the stars and the surviving children aboard the fleet. "We have won a battle," he said. "But this war is far from over. The Empire is relentless. They will not give up. But humans do not give up either." Lyra held Jaren close and he whispered softly, "We will be okay, won't we?" Elias smiled. "We are human," he said simply. "We survive, we always survive, and we never abandon the innocent."